800 health, 20 defense, and 80 experience, the Reapers are going to be pretty simple monsters to dodge. Really all you need to do is move around in circles as they're just attacking forward basically towards you. Watch out for their high dexterity because that is what's going to get you killed, but their attacks really don't do a whole lot of damage. So as long as you keep moving, you should be fine. 400 to 600 health, 0 defense, and 40 to 60 experience. The Lair mummies are going to be one of the easier mobs to dodge as long as you're being careful. The one with the crown on his head is going to be the most dangerous as he has a very high dexterity and you could end up walking through a wall of bullets, but besides that, they shouldn't be too much of a problem. Just go in circles. Brown slimes have 300 health in their large form and then 150 health when you break them down in the small one. 0 defense in both forms, and then as for experience, the big one will give you 30 experience and the small one will give you 15. Black ones, however, have 3 forms. The big one has 300 health, the medium has 150, and the small has 50. They all have 0 defense. And then for experience, the big one gives 30 experience, the medium giving 15, and then the small one giving 5. Your best bet when fighting slimes, the two methods are a little bit different. The brown ones are going to be the biggest pain because they shoot a 3-shot, it's kind of rapid, and it's got a decent sized spread to it, so you're going to want to try and zigzag them at best. It's kind of hard to do as you've seen because of how rapid they attack, and especially when they break down, that you get a whole lot of damage coming at you. So try and zigzag the brown ones, but really they're kind of hard to dodge. The black ones, however, are going to aim ahead of you, so you should be able to fairly easily zigzag ahead of their attacks and around their attacks. Besides that, for you melee classes, you're going to want to use your ability, as that's probably going to give you the longest range, or a sea sword, because otherwise you're just going to have to yell fridge and run away. There are 2 different types of bats. There's the brown bat and the ghost bat. The brown one's obviously brown and the ghost one's obviously white. They both have 200 health. The brown one has 0 defense and the ghost one has 30 defense, and then they both give 20 experience. When you're fighting bats, basically as long as you keep moving, you shouldn't be able to get hit. Their attacks really don't do that much damage, so just move around and shoot at them and you should be fine. There are 2 different constructs within the Undead Lair. There is the blue one, which is called the Giant, and the brown one, which is called the Titan. The blue one has 700 health, while the brown one has 800. They both have 20 defense, and then the blue one has 70 experience, while the brown one gives 80. When you're fighting these guys, you're going to want to move in a zigzag pattern, going left to right, or right to left, doesn't matter. And then you're going to want to watch out for the confused especially. That's what's going to get you killed when you're fighting these guys. You could walk into more bullets if you're not careful when you're confused, as well as potentially aggroing more enemies, and you definitely don't want a whole bunch of vampires or whatever on you when you're trying to fight these guys. So definitely watch out for them. If possible, pull them out into a big room so that you have the most amount of room to dodge. And then avoid hallways at all costs, as these are nearly impossible to dodge their confuse and their attacks. There are 2 different types of traps in the Undead Lair. There's a square one, which is a directed attack at you, and a circular one, which goes full circle around it. They both have 100 health, 0 defense, and 10 experience. Melee classes, you have to trigger these and run, unless you have a crystal sword. Everyone else can just pop them from a distance. If you're rushing, I recommend prioritizing these, as they do a lot of damage if you're not careful. There are 2 different types of vampires in the Undead Lair. There is the Elvis-haired vampire, which you see here, which does slow, and the king, which has a crown. The regular vampire has 300 health, the king has 400, they both have 0 defense. The regular vampire gives 30 experience, while the king gives 40. The regular vampire does slow, which obviously slows you down, while the king does a quiet to you, which takes away all your MP, and you can't use a MP pot for like 10 seconds. Be very careful if you're slowed or impaired in any way, as they do a whole lot of damage. There are 3 different types of specters in the Undead Lair. The gray one, a blue one, and a white one. The gray one has 200 health, the blue one has 300 health, and the white one has 400 health. They all have 0 defense, and then they give 20, 30, and 40 experience respectively. When you're fighting these guys, you want to move in not any type of pattern, but watch out for where you've walked previously, as they're going to be throwing bombs in that area. Do not stop moving, or if you do for a very short period of time, avoid any area that you have walked previously. This can be challenging in small rooms, and then you also have to dodge their directed attacks. So I'll be mixing the Lair Ghost with Septavius, as the only time you actually see the Lair Ghost is when Septavius spawns them. So there are two different types of Lair Ghosts. There will be a melee type and a ranged type. The melee ones are the Warrior, Paladin, Knight, and Rogue, and then the ranged are the Mage and Archer. Basically, you're going to want to handle these two separately. The melee ones will chase after you. As long as you're running away and shooting behind you, you should be able to pick them off pretty easily. However, the ranged ones tend to stick around Septavius, so he's going to be blocking quite a few of the shots. But as long as you just keep shooting at them, you'll be able to get them eventually. They have fairly low health, with 400 health, 15 defense, and 40 experience each. So they should go down fairly quickly, and you can get onto Septavius. Septavius has 8,000 health, 12 defense, and he will give you a maximum of 560 experience. Initially, when you first go in to fight him, he will have his minions already spawned, and he will be shooting out a 3-pronged spiral attack, and that will go throughout the length of the room. These spirals do ignore armor, so be very careful with them. They will do quite a bit of damage. Then he will switch to a full circle attack, where he basically shoots a whole bunch of high damage bubbles around you, or around himself rather, in a full circle. Then he will switch to this attack which shoots out a whole bunch of these little brown bugs. They're very hard to see and nearly impossible to dodge because of their wavy attack pattern, as well as shooting out yellow stars which do confuse on you. Be very careful, as the brown bug things will do quiet to you, and that will take away all your MP and make it so that you cannot use an MP pot for about 10 seconds. And then once he is done with that attack, he will repeat back to the 3-pronged spiral attack, and then he will just repeat this attack pattern over and over. It's not a very it's not a very confusing or complex boss fight, but he can do quite a bit of damage. He will drop whiz pots and potentially an untiered doom bow, so it's a very profitable dungeon if you can manage to finish it.